Next, we have a government document. The document is a roadmap for the Epstein investigation summary and timeline. Let's read the document and then discuss it afterwards. The document reads, Unclassified Documents, Criminal Investigative Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Approved by CIDA/AD on July 17, 2024. Epstein Investigation Summary and Timeline. FBI Miami Investigation. In 2005, the West Palm Beach Police Department, and then FBI Miami, initiated an investigation of Epstein after parents of a victim reported to law enforcement that Epstein had sexually abused their daughter from 2002 to 2005. Those investigations spanned approximately 2 years and included, among other things, interviews with approximately 35 victims, a search warrant executed on Epstein's Florida residence, and detailed analysis of various phone and flight records. FBI New York Investigation. On December 6, 2018, FBI NY initiated a case after Southern District of New York, SDNY, contacted FBI NY regarding several victims that had been sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein in the mid-2000s. Beginning in at least 2002, Epstein enticed and recruited dozens of minor girls to engage in sex acts with him, for which he paid the victims hundreds of dollars in cash. Some of his victims were as young as 14. He undertook this activity in at least 2 different locations, including his mansion in Manhattan, New York, and his estate in Palm Beach, Florida. Searches were executed at both locations, and it bears noting that, contrary to some news reports, these searches did not reveal any cameras in any of the bedrooms or massage rooms at Epstein's residences. In creating and maintaining a network of minor victims whom he abused, Epstein worked with others, including employees and associates who facilitated his exploitation of minors by, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters with Epstein, both in New York and in Florida. Indictment of Epstein. From January 2019 through June 2019, multiple victim witness interviews were conducted in New York and Florida. The identified victims' ages ranged from approximately 14 to 17, with the majority having been approximately 15 or 16 when they were recruited to perform sex acts for and with Epstein. In addition to the sex acts, victims would have to perform massages on Epstein nude or partially nude. Victims were paid approximately $200 to $300 each time they went to Epstein's residence. On July 2, 2019, a federal grand jury in the SDNY returned a sealed indictment Jeffrey Epstein with 1 count of sex trafficking of minors in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1591 and 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested in NJ at Teterboro Airport and transported to NY without incident. The same day, a search warrant was executed at Epstein's residence in Manhattan, NY, upon which several items were seized. There was a small number of CSAM images found on one of Epstein's devices. Post-indictment of Epstein. In July 2019, multiple individuals associated to Epstein were served GJ subpoenas. Among those served included Ghislaine Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel, pilot, JEGM chief engineer. On July 8, 2019, Epstein pled not guilty during his initial appearance in federal court. On July 11, 2019, an additional search warrant for digital items was executed at Epstein's residence in Manhattan. On July 15, 2019, Epstein was denied bail during his detention hearing. On July 22, 2019, FBI and SDNY interviewed Dr. by telephone. Bill Clinton, during a trip to Africa in 2002 on Epstein's plane, said that there were no minors on the flight and he did not observe any sexual misconduct. On July 23, 2019, SDNY advised Epstein was found unconscious in his cell, with red marks on his neck. When staff was able to revive Epstein, he couldn't recall what happened. Epstein's cellmate Nick Tartaglione, not public knowledge, denied knowing anything, and said he was just sitting on his bunk with earphones on. Tartaglione is a former police officer and subject of a FBI NY Hudson Valley resident agency quadruple homicide who has been approved for the death penalty. Epstein was removed from his cell and has been medically evaluated. The Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, initiated an investigation per their SOPs. Per Sony, The Washington Post has made an inquiry of the incident. On July 29, 2019, FBI and SDNY met with Epstein's attorneys, who, in very general terms, discussed the possibility of a resolution of the case and the possibility of the defendant's cooperation. On August 10, 2019, at approximately 7:30 a.m., FBI NY was notified that Epstein committed suicide in his jail cell at the MCC in Manhattan, NY. NYVCT Squad C-19 launched an investigation into the possible assault of a federal inmate. C-19 began coordinating with BOP, as well as the NY State Office of the Medical Examiner, OCME. Post-Epstein's suicide. Following Epstein's death, FBI and SDNY continued the investigation into potential co-conspirators. In particular, that investigation focused on Ghislaine Maxwell. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office looked into allegations against Leon Black. In October 2019, attorneys for Maxwell provided an attorney proffer. Maxwell was not present for this meeting, was interviewed pursuant to a proffer agreement approximately 3 times. On June 29, 2020, a federal grand jury in the Sony returned a sealed indictment against Ghislaine Maxwell, with 1 count of enticement of a minor in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2422, 1 count of conspiracy to entice minors in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371, 1 count of transportation of a minor in violation of 18 U.S. 0, Section 2423, 1 count of conspiracy to transport a minor in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371, and 2 counts of perjury in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1006. On July 2, 2020, Maxwell was arrested without incident at her home in New Hampshire. On March 29, 2021, a federal grand jury in the SDNY returned a sealed superseding indictment against Ghislaine Maxwell, with 1 count of sex trafficking of minors, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1591, 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371. On November 29, 2021, the trial United States v. Ghislaine Maxwell began. On December 30, 2021, Maxwell was convicted on 5 counts. On June 28, 2022, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years. Leon Black, the former CEO of Apollo Global Management, has denied multiple allegations of rape in connection with Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sex trafficking ring.